tutorial on how to use the new cut files that work with your Summer Girl clear stamp sets. In each cut file you download, you'll find an SVG and a PNG that are perfectly sized to work with your clear stamp sets. If you have the Sure Cuts a Lot, the Make the Cut, or the Silhouette Studio Designer Edition, all you have to do is to cut, stamp, and get crafty. But if you don't have one of those, or you just have the regular Silhouette Studio, then the PNG file included works for you as well. So let's open up our Silhouette Studio and get started. Today I'll be using the PNG file that goes along with the 4x6 clear stamp set, Hey Kaylee. Once the Silhouette Studio opens, check to make sure that your mat size matches what you'll be using. I'll be using a 12x12 today. Next, come over and choose File, Open, and down here at File Type, choose PNG. Next, just choose your file and open. Now once this opens, you'll see that this little warning box pops up. It's warning you that the black shapes that are included are too low of a resolution to print. But since we're not printing, that's nothing to worry about. So let's zoom in here a little bit so you can see what's going on. Now, you might notice that some of these shapes have an interior cut. Now, that's up to you on whether or not you'd like to use that or not. But to get started with making our cut file, let's go up here to Trace, then choose Select Trace Area, and use your cursor to draw a box around all the shapes included. Now, if you'd like to keep the interior cut, then use the trace function. If you would just like to do the outside edge, use trace outer edge, which is what I'll be doing. Now, once you click that, you'll notice a red line appears all the way around the edge of all of our shapes. And that is our cut line. So let's drag the black shapes to the side, select them, and click delete on our keyboard. You'll notice when we do that, the little warning box also goes away. Now these are already sized perfectly to work with your clear stamp sets, so there's no more work you need to do. Now if you'd only like to cut out one of these versus all of them, or you'd like to move them around depending on the shape of your paper, select it, go up to Object, and choose Release Compound Path. Now when you select one, you can move it around or do whatever you'd like. Next, all you need to do is to cut. So go up to your Silhouette Cut settings, choose your paper, which I'll be using a medium weight paper, and then make sure your blade is at the correct settings. And then all you have to do is cut. Now let's get ready to cut. First thing to do is to make sure that your blade matched the number that the Silhouette Studio software showed you, and ours needs to be 3. So that's what it is. Lock it in place and then load our cutting mat. And then let's tell the software to cut. Now while that's cutting, a great thing you could do is you could add a whole bunch of shapes to a sheet and stamp a whole bunch of images all at one time. A whole bunch of the same, a whole bunch of different ones, whatever you'd like. Doing it that way, it saves a lot of time by giving you a lot of images that are already cut, stamped, and ready to go right off the bat. Alright, unload, close it up, and there we go. Now, you can either take these off of the mat and then stamp them, or you can leave them on the mat and stamp them. The choice is totally up to you. Now, I had a very smart friend of mine point out that when you peel paper off of the mat, that it has a tendency to curl. So a good idea might be stamping it while on the mat. Though if you're better than I am at pulling them off without getting the curl, then that is totally up to you. So I'm going to stamp Kaylee first, and I'm going to be using a Memento Tuxedo Black to do that. Now, one of the tricks I've learned that I'm going to pass along to you is that if you notice, I'll see if I can hold this up, that on a clear stamp you kind of have a halo around the image from where the ink is. The best way to get your cut line to line up with your image is to try to line up your cut line with that halo. They seem to be about the same. So if you stand over it, you also will get a bird's eye view, which is helpful, but I'm not doing that, so we'll see how well that turns out. Press. And voila! So I'm gonna go ahead and stamp the rest of these real quick, and then we'll peel them off and see what we have. Alrighty. Now if you're worried about messing this up, you know, your stamping, you might just try cutting a few out on regular copy paper and then giving yourself a little practice before using your coloring paper. So let's peel these off and see how well I did. There's Kaylee. Here's our turtle. There's a little snail guy. And our mushrooms. Set the mat to the side. There we go. So these are already cut out and ready for you to use. So I hope you like these. They're a nice fun little addition to your clear stamp sets, and I hope you use them often. Thanks so much for joining me.